Good morning. And we do this every year. We've done it every year for 16 years, and we're going to do it again. Good morning.
Good morning.
And that's better, but we need to do it one more time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Yes, I'm British. Yes, I love pantomime season, and I love the call and response, but there's another reason for doing this, and the reason is that this is an event where we interact. We don't expect to just have people standing on stage speaking. We do expect there to be interaction between the speaker and the audience, and among the audience. Welcome to the 2016 Learning Technologies Conference. My name is Donald Taylor. I'm the chairman. It's my job to get off this stage as quickly as possible and let the conference get started. Normally I do the big Hollywood introduction, our keynote speaker, blah, 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 and you end with the first name. This year I don't want to do that because it's someone whose books I've used personally for a long time. You'll get, if you go to the foyer, this book, Triggers, okay? I've got my own edition here, very well thumbed, very well used Triggers, and I use it because it works. That's why it's got those notes in it. And I use this because it works, and the reason why it works is that our keynote speaker today, Marshall Goldsmith, has a fantastic track record of making stuff work when it comes to changing people's behaviours. I'm just going to rattle off some quick data to support that question, to support that assertion. Recently voted the #1 leadership thinker by an international poll, but also his practice has been recognised by Harvard Business Review, Institute for Management Studies, Business Week, Wall Street Journal, Economist, the World HRD Congress in India, teachers at Dartmouth's Tuck School of Business. Basically, the guy has got the intellectual credibility, a long-standing practice that has helped him build up an understanding of how people behave and how to help them change it, and it works. It's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker today, Marshall Goldsmith.
Thank you. Let me briefly introduce myself, and we will begin. Where's my clicker? Thank you. My name is Marshall. I'm from a small town called Valley Station, Kentucky. I went to school at engineering school in Indiana. Then I went to Indiana University, got an MBA, got a PhD at the UCLA Anderson School. I was a college professor and a dean when I was very, very young. Then for the past 39 years, I've done three things. One is, like today, I give talks or teach classes. So this is what I love to do the most. So I love speaking and teaching, and I travel all around the world doing this. On American Airlines alone, I have over 12 million frequent flyer miles. Have any of you seen the movie Up in the Air with George Clooney? Have you seen this movie? Yeah, I have the card. Now, this always happens to me with the card, especially with women. I show them the card. They always say the same thing. You look exactly like George Clooney. So the first thing I do is speaking and teaching. What I'm most famous for is coaching executives. And my coaching clients are CEOs or could be CEOs of huge companies. So I've been the coach of the CEO of Ford and Pfizer and Glaxo and the president of the World Bank and the head of the Mayo Clinic and all kinds of fascinating people. And what I love about coaching is where I learn everything. So everything in my books I didn't learn in school. I learned from working with real people in the real world. And then the third thing I do is write and edit books and articles. That book you all have, Triggers, that was book number 35. My most famous book is called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. That was my 23rd book. And after writing 22 books, it was very good to write a book that someone finally bought. Yes, people bought that book other than my mother, my father, and assorted relatives. So that was very good. Now, a couple of other things. Please comment and send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. I love getting emails. If you send me an email, I cannot promise to get back to you immediately. I will get back to you eventually. It might just take a little while. And also, my website is www.marshallgoldsmith.com. I give everything away. All my material, you may copy, share, download, duplicate, use in church, charity, nonprofit. Use any of my material any way you wish. A couple million people have looked at my videos. I've got tons of videos, articles. So I'm a Buddhist. My basic attitude is we're all going to become equally dead. So might as well Might as well do a little good here, right? So if any of this stuff does any good for anybody, use it any way you wish. Now, an advantage to come to a program like this is get to meet some new people, yet I notice many of you sit with people you already know. That's now going to stop. You're going to stand up, you're going to look around the room, you're going to find one person you do not know very well and sit next to that person. To your marks, get set, stand up, find a partner. Go, 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 go. Okay, sit, sit, sit. Now, we are going to practice peer coaching. In peer coaching, you are not here to judge your partner. You are not here to critique your partner. You are not here to put your partner down. You are here to help your partner. I want you to shake hands with your partner and say, partner, my name is, I'm here to help. Go, shake hands with your partner. Now, what are our goals? Oh, one other thing. I like to walk around. So we're going to have an exercise program. Here's your exercise program. I'm going to wander around, and I never want to see the back of anyone's head. So as I wander around, your exercise program is you turn, see, so I don't see the back of your head. Now, what are we doing today? We're going to understand the concept of triggers and how to deal with environmental factors that impact our change in life. I want to talk about why the key variable for success in leadership, development, employee engagement is much more the person than the program. Understand how ongoing structure can help us achieve our goals. I'm going to share what my friend Alan Mullally did at Ford. He works with me now about how he used clear structure direction to change an entire company and did a spectacular job. And then finally, my last thing, I'm going to share something with you that takes 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes. Costs nothing. And will help you get better at almost anything. Now, some of you are skeptical now. 2 minutes a day. Costs nothing. Help me get better at almost anything. Too good to be true. My second prediction, half of you that begin doing this will quit within 2 weeks. And you will not quit because it does not work. You will quit because it does work. What I'm going to teach you today is going to be incredibly easy to understand. It's just incredibly difficult to do. If you read my book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, you read funny story after funny story after funny story. It's tempting to read the book and think, well, what a bunch of idiots. How could these people be so dumb? The idiots in the book all have IQs of 150, and they're all CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies. And I'll tell you, this stuff is hard to do. It's not hard to understand. It's quite hard to do. Now, let's get started. I believe that deep down inside, we kind of know the people that we want to become. If I interviewed any of you and asked you, who's the you that you want to be? You're going to write a beautiful story. Nice person, hardworking, dedicated, high integrity, cares about the family, in perfect physical condition, yada, 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 yada. We all have these wonderful stories about the person that we want to be. The problem is, what happens in life? If we know who we want to be, why don't we become these people? Millions of employees around the world are disengaged, depressed, not achieving personal goals. New Year's resolutions. By February, the gym is empty. Coaching clients that don't change. We fail every day on little things. What happens? As we journey through life, we are constantly bombarded by triggers. Now, what is a trigger? A trigger is any stimulus that may impact our behavior. A sight, a sound, an event. Any stimulus that may impact our behavior, and we seldom plan on this. Now, who is in control? I'm going to talk about 4 different theories of control. Internal control, that means I am responsible for my own life. I am in charge of my own destiny. I control what's going on. External control is I'm buffeted by triggers in the environment and I'm controlled by the world around me. 4 schools of thought, and by the way, very bright people believe in each one of these schools. School number 1, low internal, low external. Life is a crapshoot. The random walk school of life. It's just mostly luck out there and who knows. The second school I'll talk about is high internal, low external. I create the world. Have any of you ever been to a motivational speech before? Motivational speech? The motivational speech is based on this. Jimmy was tired and sick and poor, and everyone told Jimmy he couldn't make it, and he didn't have any friends, and now he's rich and has 3 wives. So the motivational speech is pretty much always the same. Tired, poor, sick, couldn't do it. They said he couldn't do it, but he did it. Have any of you ever read a book called The Secret before? The Secret. This is a book that sold 7 million copies, one of the most ridiculous books ever written. So 7 million copies. And the essence of the book, The Secret, is if I envision it, it will happen. If I envision it, it will happen. And they have all these stories. Mary wanted to be a movie star, and she envisioned it would happen, and it did. And Joe wanted to be the basketball champion, and he envisioned it would happen, and it did. And Larry had cancer, and he envisioned it would go away, and it did. All of the stories were true. There was only one minor problem from a research point of view. They did not interview the dead people. They didn't interview the basketball team that lost, and they didn't interview the 1,000 waitresses in Hollywood who envisioned being movie stars. This is called the survivor bias. Now, by the way, I can speak from personal experience. This business of if I envision it, it will happen is definitely not always true. If this were true, my sex life as a teenage boy would have been a hell of a lot better than it was. Because I did an incredibly big amount of envisioning, and I can tell you, absolutely nothing ever happened. The next is the world creates me. B.F. Skinner, the famous Harvard psychologist, is a proponent of this school. The world creates me. We are a stimulus response machine. And we are triggered by events out there in the environment, and these events just basically create us. My book, Triggers, is based on the assumption of mutual creation. What does this mean? I am creating my world. And at the same time, my world is creating me. I am creating the world, yet at the same time, the world is creating me. Fate. Fate is the hand of cards that we've been dealt. And in any second in time, you cannot change the hand. The one thing in life we can never change, the past. Our choice is, how do we play the hand? How do we play the hand? Now, changing the impact of triggers. As we journey through life, typically there is a trigger. The trigger leads to an impulse, and the impulse leads to a behavior. The goal of the book is there will still be triggers and impulse. If we can become aware of what's going on, then we realize we have a choice. I don't have to be strictly driven by the environment. I have a choice. And then our behavior is a function of the choice, not our behavior as a function of the impulse. Now, the negative case study of this. In my class, I always talk about don't try to win too much. And the negative case study is, I want you to, and winning too much is one of the biggest problems of everyone I've ever coached, winning all the time. And anytime somebody says something, we get triggered. We have to win. We have to prove we're smarter, better, more competitive than they are. Winning too much. As I look into your eyes, I think many of you are afflicted with this disease. I'm going to give you a case study of winning too much that almost all my clients fail. I'm going to predict almost all of you will fail this case study. And when I say fail, you will fail yourself. You will say, what I did do is the opposite of what I know I should have done. Here is the case study. You want to go to dinner at restaurant X. Your husband, wife, partner, or friend wants to go to dinner at restaurant Y. You have a heated argument. You go to restaurant Y. It was not your choice. The food tastes awful, and the service is terrible. Option A, critique the food. Point out our partner was wrong. This mistake could have been avoided had only you listened to me, me, me. Option B, shut up. Eat the stupid food. Try to enjoy it and have a nice evening. What would I do? What should I do? Almost all my clients, what would I do? Critique the food. What should I do? Shut up. How many people in the room, please raise your hands, have ever critiqued the food before? Raise your hands, yes. A room filled with food critiquers. And was this smart or stupid? It was stupid. It was stupid. And as stupid as it was, yes, stupid. I'm going to give you an example now that is so hideously stupid, it'll make that one pale by comparison. And yes, I predict at least half the people in the room have done this. Case study 2. You have a hard day at work, a hard day, under so much pressure. Push, 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 more, 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 numbers, numbers, numbers. Such a hard day. You go home. Your husband, wife, partner, friend is there, and the other person says, I had such a hard day today. I had such a tough day. And we reply, you had a hard day. You had a hard day. Do you have any idea what I had to put up with today? Do you think you had a hard day? We are so competitive, we have to prove we are more miserable than the people we live with. I gave this example in my class at the Dartmouth Tuck School. A young man in the back raised his hand. He said, I did that last week. I asked him, what happened? He said, my wife looked at me. She said, honey, you just think you've had a hard day. It's not over. Now that's the negative case study of a trigger. Now let me give you the positive case study that shows what can happen if we become aware of how these triggers influence us. A gentleman sent me an email a couple of years ago, and it's in the book Triggers. And if any of you after today would send me such an email, I'd be very happy about today. He sent me an email and he said, I know you do not remember me. I was in your class 5 years ago. I wanted to send you an email today and say thank you. He said, yesterday my wife called up and was having a terrible day. She was talking about how much problems she was having, and I was under all kinds of pressure, and I was just getting ready to point out how her problems paled in significance to my own. He said, for some reason, I remembered your little course. And I breathed, listened to my wife, and I said, thank you for all of the sacrifices you have made for the family. I love you. He said, I spent $25. I went home, I bought her some flowers. I gave her the flowers, and he said, I love you. He said, that was the best $25 I have ever spent. Thank you very much. Well, next time you feel that little competitive urge kick in, that little trigger goes off and you think, I got to win, take a deep breath and ask a question. What am I winning? What am I winning? Peter Drucker taught me a wonderful lesson. Our mission in life is to make a positive difference, not to prove how smart we are and not to prove how right we are. It is incredibly difficult for smart, successful people not to go through life constantly proving how smart we are and how right we are. Talk to your partner 20 seconds and answer this question. What's one time in the past year you had a need to win and prove you were right when you should not have been fighting the battle in the first place? Go, talk to your partner. Talk.
Go in a circle in meetings.
Yeah.
The first 5 or 10 minutes of the meeting.
In the great book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, who was in a concentration camp, has a great quote. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. His point is, no matter how bad the environment is, if we become aware of what's going on, we realize we have a choice. We have a choice. We have a choice. Now, why don't people do what I teach? I'm going to make a prediction. I am the only teacher you have ever met in your life who has collected input from tens of thousands of people who have been to my classes. And I measure, do they do what I teach, and do they get better? Now, the good news is people that do this stuff get better. Even better news is people that do nothing don't get worse. It's all good, right? Why don't people do what I teach? Years ago, my biggest client was a company called Johnson & Johnson. Do all of you know Johnson & Johnson? Working at Johnson & Johnson, I had the privilege of working with their top 2,000 leaders, all the way from the CEO at the time, Ralph Larson, down to number 2,000. At the end of the class, I asked people, pick something to improve, talk to people, develop a plan, follow up. Very, very simple stuff. 98% of their leaders said, I'm going to do what Marshall just taught me. 98%. A year later, 70% had done something. 30%, zero. By the way, I'm not ashamed of these numbers. I'm very proud of these numbers. 70% of 2,000 people is 1,400 people getting evaluated by 10 coworkers each. 14,000 people had a little better life. I'm not ashamed of that. I got to interview the people that did nothing and ask them, why'd you do nothing? Well, their answer had nothing to do with ethics, values, or integrity. They won an award that year, most ethical company in the world. They are good people. I'm sure you're good people. Had nothing to do with intelligence. They're smart people. I'm sure you're smart people. The reason people did nothing had to do with a dream. Yes, a dream. A dream I've had for years. And as I look into your eyes, I'm going to make a prediction. Many of you have had this dream. Yes, many of you have had this same dream. Yes, many of you have had this same idiotic dream on a recurring basis for years. And this dream is going to describe why in life we don't do what we know we should. Some of you are skeptical now. You're thinking, he doesn't know my dreams. What is he talking about? Don't bet against me on the dream. What does the dream sound like? You know, I'm incredibly busy right now, given pressures of work and home, and new technology that follows me everywhere, and emails and voicemails and global competition. I feel about as busy as I ever have. Sometimes I feel overcommitted. I do not tell others this, but every now and again my life feels just a little bit out of control. But you know, I'm working on some very unique and special challenges right now. And I think the worst of this is going to be over in about 3 or 4 months. And after that, I'm going to take 2 or 3 weeks and get organized. And I'm going to spend some time with my family, and I'm going to begin my new Healthy Life program. And after that, everything is going to be different, and it will not be crazy anymore. Has anyone in the room ever had a dream that vaguely resembles that dream? And how many years have we been having this same stupid dream, right? There's not going to be any 2 or 3 weeks. Sanity's not going to prevail. There's an outside chance tomorrow's going to get even crazier than today. Are any of you in a job where you have those targets? You have to make numbers. Got to make some numbers every year. Numbers. What's your name, sir? Rob. Rob's got to make numbers. Let's all pretend that Rob overachieves on every number this year by 25%. Big round of applause for Rob. 25% above all targets. Yes, Rob. Yes, 25%. Rob, if that happens, what are the odds a big boss is going to come back next year and say, Rob, buddy, take a little break?
Unlikely.
No. Rob, you're working too hard. In fact, Rob, let's lower the goals next year. Is that going to happen? No. What's going to happen to the goals next year?
It's going to go.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Right hand. Yeah. My name is Rob.
My name is Rob.
And it's always going to be crazy. It's always going to be crazy. Do I have any entrepreneurs in the room? Anybody here own your own business? Entrepreneur. Oh, entrepreneur. What's your name, sir? Federico.
Yeah.
You have your own business.
I do.
Now, let's imagine that Federico, who's got his own business, he overachieves on every goal by 25%. Let's hear it for him. 25% above all targets. Fantastic. Federico, if that happens, what are the odds you're going to look at yourself next year and say, lower the goals? No. What's going to happen to your goals? Up. Unlike Rob, I want you to say something different. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. My name is Federico.
My name is Federico.
I am always going to be crazy. See, in his case, at least he can blame somebody else. Who's the idiot that's driving you? So you see, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter so much if you're in a big business or if you're an entrepreneur. It's not going to change. It's not going to change. It's always going to be crazy. So I want everybody to raise your right hand and repeat after me. It is always going to be crazy. It is always going to be crazy. Make peace with that. It's always going to be crazy. Once you make peace with that, life is a whole lot better. Now, the value of structure. The one thing I have learned, my deepest learning this year, is getting over that crazy macho, I can do it on my own, willpower crap. We all need help. Who in the room needs to be a better listener? Raise your hand. Better listener. Many hands going up. Many hands. Sir, your name is? Clive. And Clive, how many years you been needing to be a better listener now? How many years, Clive?
I can't remember.
You can't remember. At least 25, would you say that? At least 25. So, Clive, I want you to repeat after me. My name is Clive.
My name is Clive.
I need to be a better listener.
I need to be a better listener.
I have not fixed this by myself in over 25 years. Let's face reality, I'm not going to fix it by myself in the future. Who am I kidding here, right? Well, we've all got these problems, right? We haven't fixed them for 20 or 30 years. Why are we going to believe we're going to fix it next week? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We're not going to fix it next week. Talk to your partner. You're going to say, my name is, here's something I need to get better. I've not fixed this by myself in so many years. Then you're going to say, I need help, and it's okay. I need help, and it's okay. To marks, consent, go. Talk to your partner. What do you need to get better at? Okay, stop. Now, the value of structure. My deepest learning this year is once we get over this macho, pride, self-reliant crap, life is a lot better. Let me give you some examples. There's a great book called The Checklist Manifesto, published by Dr. Atul Gawande from Harvard Medical School. Have any of you read this book, The Checklist Manifesto? Excellent book. Dr. Gawande is a great guy, a humble man, nice man. In his book, The Checklist Manifesto, Dr. Gawande makes a fascinating point. If you go in for a surgery and the nurse asks the doctor a series of very simple questions from a checklist before the surgery, the odds on unneeded infection plummet, and the death rate because of unnecessary infection is cut by about 2/3. By the way, this is not a theory. This is a well-documented statistical fact. The huge majority of hospitals around the world do not allow the nurse to ask the doctor the questions. According to Dr. Gawande, more people have died because of the egos of surgeons than have died in the Vietnam War, the Afghan War, and the Iraqi War combined. Ego. Now, by the way, I know the NHS here gets crapped on sometimes. One thing you should be very proud of, you're one of the few countries in the world where the NHS stood up to the doctors and said, this is nonsense. Option A, the nurse asked you the question, or option B, you're out. By the way, almost no other country in the world has done this for you. Little round of applause for the NHS on this one. They did a good job. Yeah. And by the way, they're not perfect, because when I was working over at the NHS, they're not perfect, but they're hitting about 98.5%, which is good. They saved a lot of lives by doing this. And you'd be shocked, the rest of the world is not doing this right now. You're one of the few countries it is, so God bless you on this one. Next, I'm going to talk about my friend Alan Mulally and how he used structure and direction. I'm going to talk about something called the daily question process and the 6 engaging questions. Now, the daily question process, I pay a woman named Kate to call me on the phone every day. Every day. She calls me on the phone. Every day she listens to me read 32 questions that I wrote every day and provide 32 answers that I wrote every day. Somebody asked me, why do you pay a woman to call you on the phone every day just to listen to you read questions you wrote and provide answers you wrote? Don't you know the theory about how to change behavior? I wrote the theory about how to change behavior. That's why I pay a woman to call me on the phone. I know how hard it is. I have 12 million frequent flyer miles on one airline. That's an excuse to be a terrible parent, excuse to be a bad husband, excuse to be out of shape. How many excuses do I get with 12 million frequent flyer miles? Excuses don't matter. Why do I pay somebody to call me on the phone every day? My name is Marshall Goldsmith. I'm the world's leading executive coach. I am too cowardly to do this by myself, and I'm too undisciplined to do this by myself. I need help, and it's okay. It's okay. Once we get over that macho crap of I'm above needing help, life is so much better. One thing I'm so proud of in my book Triggers on the US version, 27 major CEOs endorsed that book. 27 major CEOs. Why am I so proud? 27 CEOs said, I need help and it's okay. 30 years ago, no CEO would have admitted to having an executive coach. No CEO would have admitted to having an executive coach. Today, these are big people. CEO of the Year, Presidential Medal of Freedom winner, President of the World Bank. These are important people. And they all said, guess what? I have a coach. It's okay. It's okay. Of the top 10 tennis players, how many of those 10 have coaches? Well, they all have coaches. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. It just means they're smart. Now, My friend Alan Mulally, I'm going to talk about how he used structure and direction to turn around the Ford Motor Company and how you can apply these same concepts in your own organizations. First, he goes into Ford. The company is losing $17 billion with a B dollars. The stock value is down to $1.01 at the bottom. He leaves Ford, the stock is valued at $18.40. Now I'm going to give you another few statistics about my friend. 2014, he was ranked the #3 greatest leader in the entire world, behind only the Pope and Angela Merkel. He was the CEO of the Year in the United States. Do any of you work in a union company? Union company? Well, if you worked in a union company, you'll appreciate this. Union employees don't like CEOs, typically. He's the CEO of a union company, and they don't like CEOs that make a ton of money. When he left Ford, he made $400 million himself, and he had a 97% approval rating from every employee in the company. They love this guy. Why? He saved the company. Now, what did he do? When he goes to Ford, he began focusing on leadership behavior. Now, the last thing you think about in a turnaround is to focus on the, quote, soft skills. The first thing he focused on was leadership behavior. He said, we are going to be role models of how to act. He gets his team together, and they agreed on the desired behaviors. And by the way, if you read my book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, there's nothing that's not in the book. It's simple stuff, right? They all agreed on the right behaviors. Then after they agreed, he said, starting today, no tolerance for bad behavior. No tolerance for bad behavior. I've never seen this. You're in a meeting, use a cell phone, stops a meeting. Side conversation, stops a meeting. You need to talk to somebody in the room here? Sarcastic comment, none. Destructive comment about other people, 0. No bad behavior. 2 people challenged him. They went over his head to Bill Ford, the chairman, and they said, Bill, this is childish Boy Scout nonsense. I'm an adult. I can say whatever I feel like. Bill said, he's the CEO, go talk to him. Alan said, I made a choice, you made a choice. Goodbye. He fired both of them. They didn't know it at the time. Those 2 people that he fired lost about $40 million apiece. So they could go out and make nasty comments. Well, they got to make all the nasty comments they wanted. It cost them about $40 million though. What did he say? No more of this stuff. At every team meeting, he had each team member had to invite 2 people to watch the meeting. 16 team members, 32 observers. You know why? He said, we're not going to preach how to live. We're going to model how to live. By the way, how fast did that culture change? Boom. We're not going to talk how to live. We're going to model how to live. And by the way, if you can't model how to live, out. Very, very simple behavior. Now, the other thing he did, and I'm going to go back to this concept of shame, which is just a huge deal. He takes the top 16 leaders, and they all get to pick their top 5 priorities, red, yellow, green. Green means, I'm on plan. Yellow means, well, I'm not on plan, have a strategy to get there. And red, I'm not on plan, no strategy. The first meeting, 16 times 5, 80 priorities. The company is losing $17 billion with the B dollars. 80 green. Everyone's on plan. He said, well, let's see. We're losing $17 billion and everyone's on plan. I guess our plan must be to lose at least $17 billion because that's where we are. He said, do it again. Finally, Mark Fields, who's now the CEO of Ford, steps up and says, red. I'm not on plan, and I don't know how to get there. My friend Alan stands up and applauds. He says, God bless you. Thank you for having the courage to admit red. He said, look, you're not on plan, and you don't know how to get there. Then he did 2 things I've never seen a CEO do. You know what he said? It's okay. Then he said, I'm the CEO of the Ford Motor Company, and I know a whole lot less than you do, and that's okay too. When's the last time you heard a CEO say that? Not so much. Not so much. I know a whole lot less than you, and it's okay. He said, we have hundreds of thousands of people who work here. We can hire outside people. Why don't we all just get together, come up with a team, and try to solve the problem? He said within 10 minutes, the problem was solved. Once they got over that macho shame crap and just were able to tell the truth and put it on the table, once he was able to say red, what happened to the problem? Let's get some people to provide help and solve the problem. Well, that's a great case study. And again, open transparency, the data will set you free, and the leader is a facilitator. Clear strategy, and the key in leadership is finding the help, not feeling this macho need to provide the help yourself. Now, what would the huge majority of CEOs do in this case? You come to me and say, Red, I'm not on plan, I don't know how to get there. You know what 95% of CEOs would do? Talk. Talk. And as soon as I start talking, the worst of all worlds occurs. My friend J.P. Garnier retired as CEO of Glaxo several years ago. I asked J.P., what'd you learn as CEO of GlaxoSmithKline? He said, I learned a hard lesson. As a CEO, my suggestions become orders. My suggestions become orders. Now, he said, if they're smart, they're orders, and if they're stupid, they're orders. And if I want them to be orders, they're orders. And I don't want them to be orders, they're orders anyway. You come to me and say, Red, I start talking, the worst of all worlds. One, you're going to run out and implement my stupid ideas, and I know less than you in the first place. And two, you have no ownership. Why? The CEO told me to do it. The CEO told me to do it. The huge majority of CEOs, that is exactly what they do wrong. They just talk. And as soon as they start talking, things go downhill. It takes a lot of courage to say, I don't know the answer. Now, how many of you are familiar with the concept of employee engagement? Employee engagement. Very important concept. I'm now going to give you a totally new way to look at employee engagement. I went to a presentation at the National Academy of Human Resources. These are the heads of HR from 3 of the biggest companies in the world, and they were asked to make a presentation on employee engagement. Everything we know, and they talked about recognition, rewards, training, compensation, empowerment. Then they said, in spite of all efforts, global employee engagement is near an all-time low. I'm listening to this speech thinking, if you're so great, and everybody knows all this stuff, why is global employee engagement at an all-time low? It doesn't seem to be working so well. Then I realized something. 100% of the dialogue was, what can the company do to engage you? And absolutely 0% was, what can you do to engage yourself? This is not an exaggeration. 100% the company's responsibility, 0% as an employee. You have any responsibility for your own engagement. Well, I'm listening to this, and I didn't disagree with anything they said. It was half of an equation. I'm always flying on the airplane. I'm on a typical American Airlines flight, 3 hours. One flight attendant's positive, motivated, upbeat, enthusiastic. One's negative, bitter, angry, and cynical. Look up here. How many of you have been on that flight before? Same pay, same uniform, same employee engagement program. What's the difference? The difference is not what's on the outside. The difference is what's on the inside. Remember I'm sure you don't remember it, but John Kennedy made a famous speech. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. 100% of employee engagement is the opposite of the John Kennedy speech. It's teaching the employees to say, here's what you can do for me, with no responsibility to do anything back. Now, I'm listening to this, and it really made me focus on the person in different ways. First, my job as a coach. You know, I learned my job as a coach. The key variable for success in coaching is not the coach. It's the person being coached. In my coaching, I don't get paid 1 cent if my clients don't get better. Better is not judged by me or them, it's judged by everyone around them. By the way, there's a great way to test if someone believes what they're teaching you. You can ask a person one question and instantly determine their level of belief. I've never seen it fail. What's the question? Want to bet on it? Do you want to bet on it? They say, I believe it, but I don't want to bet on it. You know what you learned? They don't believe it. They say, here's the money. They believe it. I bet on this every time. When you get paid for results, you learn humility. The client I coached that improved the most is the client I spent the least amount of time with. The client I spent the most amount of time with didn't improve at all. I didn't get paid. A humbling lesson. Do any of you have a background in mathematics? Mathematics? You appreciate this. I made a chart. On one dimension, it was called time spent with Marshall Goldsmith. The other dimension was called improvement. There was a clear negative correlation between spending time with me and getting better. Well, I thought this is a humbling chart. I go talk to my client who improved the most, who turned out to be my friend Alan, who became the CEO of Ford. I said, Alan, of all the people I've coached, you improved the most. I spent the least amount of time with you, and you're great to start with. I showed Alan my chart. I said, Alan, the way this troubling chart looks, had you never met me, you would really be good. So I asked him, what should I learn about coaching from you? He taught me 2 lessons. And I'm going to make a prediction. You're in the learning field. This group is the worst in the world at understanding these 2 lessons. He said, lesson number 1, your biggest challenge as a coach is called customer selection. You pick the right customer, you win. You pick the wrong customer, you lose. And he said, 2, don't make coaching about your own self and your ego and how smart you think you are. Make it about the great people you coach and how proud you are of them. Then he said, as CEO of Ford, my job isn't that different. He said, I don't design the cars, I don't sell the cars, I don't build the cars, I gotta have great people. And he said, 2, every day I drove to work, I tell myself, leadership's not about me, leadership's about them. Most of us never deeply understand these lessons. In the learning community, the worst. Are we ready? We're gonna test you right now. Is this a group of high character, ethics, and integrity? What do you think? I'm gonna test that right now. I'm gonna ask the group a question. A troublesome question, a personal question, perhaps an embarrassing question. And I find people in the learning community are the absolute worst at this. Are we ready? If the answer is yes, you must raise your hands. How many people in this very room are still stupidly attempting to change the behavior of a husband, wife, partner, or significant other who has absolutely no interest in changing? Come on, get these hands up in the air. Look at all these hands. She couldn't wait to raise her hand. Now, who are you trying to change?
My husband.
What's his name?
Carl.
Carl?
Yeah.
Look up here. I want you to smile. Take a deep breath and do your hand like this. Go hand. Ah, let it go, or let him go. How many years you been trying to change old Carl now?
18.
18 wasted years. Now I'm going to ask the group another question, yes. Another troublesome, personal, embarrassing question. If the answer is yes, you must raise your hands. How many people in this very room are still stupidly attempting to change the behavior of mommy or daddy who has no interest in changing? Come on. Parental change agents, yes. Mommy, daddy, or both?
Mom.
How many years?
I am 42, so 42.
A lifetime crusade at mommy changing, right? I was teaching my class at Dartmouth. A young woman raised her hand. I said, are you trying to change mommy or daddy? She said, daddy. I said, what is daddy's problem? She said, he does not have a healthy lifestyle. I said, how old is daddy? She said, 94 years old. You want to smoke a cigar, old man? Smoke 2. Smoke pot. Who cares? He's 94 years old. Give the old boy a break. Now, I'm going to teach you a very hard lesson for learning professionals that I've learned as a coach. In terms of coaching adults, if they do not care, do not waste your time. If they do not care, do not waste your time. And when I coach people, I can't make them change what they don't want to change. What am I supposed to do? Shoot them, beat them up, kill them? I can help them change what they do want to change. That's good enough. So I've learned the key variable is the person. It's not me. All this coach school, they lead you to believe that, the key variable in successful coaching is the coach. No, it's the person being coached, not the coach. First thing I teach my clients is this. I don't get paid if you don't get better. I don't get paid because I'm a good coach. I get paid because you're a good customer. Don't make it about me. Let's assume I'm the worst coach in the world and he gets better. Who cares? Let's assume I'm the best coach in the world and he doesn't get better. Who cares? This is not a contest about me being a good coach. This is a contest about you getting better. Well, a great lesson. I wrote an article called Leadership as a Contact Sport. If any of you would like to see a copy of this research, send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. I'll send you a copy of it. 86,000 people from around the world. What did we learn about leadership development? The key factor for success in leadership development is not the speaker or the program, it's the person being led. Let me tell you what everybody measures in leadership development. Did you like the speaker? Or how about this? Was the food tasty? Oh, that's important, right? Was the food, was the room nice? You know who's being trained? The speaker is being trained. The janitor is being trained. And the cook is being trained. The leaders are not being trained. Why? Nobody's evaluating the leaders. If you want the leaders to get better, start evaluating the leaders. Don't evaluate the speakers and the cook and the janitors. Evaluate the leaders. My friend Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner did research on values. What did it show? The key to employee engagement and values, it's not does the company have values. How many of you work in companies have plaques stuck up on the wall with values, right? Nobody cares. Every company has the same stupid plaque, right? And by the way, then the new CEO comes in. What do they do then? The new values. Oh, yeah, the new values. Yeah, just changing the buzzwords around a little bit. Everybody's got those same stupid plaques. The key is not does a company have values. The key is can I live my own values? Not does a company have values. And then other research on this. Well, in my book, Mojo, we looked at both professional and personal success. And we said, look at two dimensions of life. One, short-term gratification. Another word for that is happiness. Does it make me happy? The other, long-term benefit, meaning. And what do we find out? 5 different ways we can spend our time. The first one is called surviving. It doesn't make me happy and it's not meaningful. Stimulating. It makes me happy. It's not meaningful. By the way, looking around the room, a few of the people getting a little older. Let me talk to you old people here. Some people ask me, why don't you retire? I guess I could play crappy golf with old men at the country club while eating chicken salad sandwiches every day and discussing gallbladder surgery. But it might not be quite that romantic as it sounds, right? So what's the problem? The problem is we think I can do this stuff that's fun and amuse myself, and won't it be great? It's great for a couple months. After that, after about that 9th cruise, the cruise jokes are not so funny. After about the 100th trip to the golf course, it doesn't really mean that much. Why? No meaning. No meaning. The other, though, is what you don't want, and that's high in meaning, but it's low in happiness. Then you're a victim, a martyr. You're doing stuff that's important, but you're not enjoying life. And again, the key to success in life is, does it make me happy, and is it simultaneously meaningful? And then sustaining, I put moderate amounts of happiness and meaning. Then I ask people, think of a typical day at work. What % of your time is spent in each category? What did I learn? The average person in our survey, and this is several thousand people, 14% of the time at work is surviving, at home 11, stimulating 15, not surprising, a little more of the stimulating at home, which you would guess, more amusing at home, sacrificing a little more at work, and then sustaining and succeeding almost identical. What did we learn in our research? There's an incredibly high correlation between scores at work and home. Now let me go back to employee engagement. There's an incredibly high correlation between scores at work and scores at home. People who are miserable at work are miserable at home. They're just miserable people. And if the key to employee engagement is the company as opposed to the person, why is there a positive 0.63 correlation between our experience of happiness and meaning at work and at home? Our experience of happiness and meaning says as much about us, who we are, as it what we're doing. Spending time with people we love is highly correlated with satisfaction. And what else have we learned? The only positive correlation with overall satisfaction at work or home comes in increased hours in succeeding. What does that mean? You have to find both happiness and meaning. Just giving people amusement helps a little bit. You know, the company fun day, not much. Not much. Why? You have to do both happiness and meaning. And people that find both, they have a better life at work and at home. Now, as I promised, I'm going to teach you what takes 2 minutes a day, costs nothing, and help you get better at anything. Are we ready? Look into the eyes of your partner. Look into the eyes of your partner. Look into the eyes of your partner. I want you to imagine your partner is going to call you on the phone every day for the rest of your life. Every day for the rest of your life, your partner is going to call you on the phone. Now, every day your partner is going to be asking you questions. Every day. You are listening to you read questions every day. Again, I pay a woman named Kate to call me up every day. Now, I'm going to share some of my questions. Here's your homework assignment. Get out an Excel spreadsheet. On one column, you write down a series of questions. These represent what's most important in your life: friends, family, work, whatever it is, health. 7 boxes across, one for every day of the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every question has to be answered with yes or no. Yes is 1, no is a 0, or a number. Fill it out every day. At the end of the week, the Excel spreadsheet's going to give you a little report card. I will warn you in advance. That report card at the end of the week might not be quite as pretty as the corporate values plaque you got stuck up on the wall. When you do this every day, you know what you quickly learn? Life is incredibly easy to talk. Life's incredibly difficult to live. Now, I'm going to give you some of my own questions, but they're not intended to be yours. The idea is write your own questions. Here's one of my questions every day. How many times yesterday did you try to prove you were right when it was not worth it? I almost never got a 0 my whole life. Kind of hard for that old professor not to be right all the time. What's one of my biggest problems in life? My biggest problem is not doing what I do. My biggest problem is stopping. I go on an 8-hour flight sometimes. Sometimes some poor man sits next to me. Occasionally he makes an awful mistake. He looks up and he goes, "What do you do for a living?" 8 hours later, I look over, he goes, "Why did I ask?" Great is the need of the student to learn. Far greater is the need of the teacher to teach. Speaking of which, fine learning professionals in this room, how many of you have used your own wonderful learning techniques with friends and family members in a crusade to help them have a better life? Have we tried this before? And do they love your helpful ways? Not so much, not so much. Another one of my questions every day is, how many angry or destructive comments did you make about people yesterday? Oh, by the way, if you'd like all my questions, send me an email and just write personal questions. I'll send you all my questions and an article about the process. Did you say or do something nice for your wife? Did you say or do something nice for your son, for your daughter? Did you say something nice for your grandkids? Just basic questions of life. How many minutes did you write? Those books don't write themselves. How many minutes did you write? Now, my friend Jim Moore does this, will tell you it saved his life. It didn't kind of save his life or sort of save his life. It did save his life. What's one of his daily questions? Are you currently updated on your physical exam? Are you currently updated on your physical exam? The first 90 days he did this, he said no every day. Every day. After 90 days, he said, "This is embarrassing. I'm failing a test every day, and I wrote the question. I got to get the dumb exam or quit asking." He got the dumb exam. What did the doctor say? You have cancer. Now he's going to be fine. That was many years ago. The doctor also said, had you waited 7 more months, you'd be dead. He knew he should have got a physical exam. He's 65 years old. He knew he should have done it, but he didn't do it. Hold a mirror in your face every day. Hard to hide. It's very hard to hide. How many people in this very room have ever avoided a physical exam and told yourself, I'm going to get that exam after I go on my healthy foods diet and begin my exercise program? Come on, come on. Yeah, look at all these hands. Now I have a question. Now, did we trick the doctor with that strategy? No, I was teaching at the University of Michigan. This man raised his hand. I said, "Sir, did you trick the doctor with that strategy?" He looked at me and goes, "I am the doctor." Now, you're going to talk to your partner. And you're going to say, "Good partner, here's one question I should challenge myself with every day." Your partner's going to say, "Here's a good question I should challenge myself with every day." Go back and forth until I say stop. Your marks gets it. Go, talk to your partner. Go, go, go. Talk to your partner. How much time?
I think we're pretty close to needing to wrap up now.
5 minutes?
Yeah, I know you want to do active and passive questions. So.
Yeah, I'll do that. Then I'll be done in about 5. Okay, good. Okay, stop, stop, stop. Okay, stop, stop, stop. Now, shh, 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 shh. I'm now going to teach you, in wrapping up, I'm going to teach you what my daughter Kelly taught me about active questions. Almost everything in employee engagement has involved passive questions. Now, what's a passive question? Do you have clear goals? Do you have meaningful work? My daughter is a professor of marketing at the Kellogg School, and her research is pretty clear. If we ask people passive questions, they have a negative response, they blame the environment. Do you have clear goals? No, they're confused. Do you have meaningful work? No, they make me do trivia. My daughter Kelly taught me something called active questions. Now, these are my first 6 questions every day. I'm going to share our research on this, and the results so far have been amazing. Just amazing. Anybody here work for Ernst & Young? No, anyway, Ernst & Young, yeah, you're using our stuff now. So Ernst & Young is now beginning to roll this out with your employees and internally in the company. The results so far have been amazing. Well, here's my first 6 questions every day. Number 1, did I do my best to be happy? Rather than saying, did somebody make me happy? I do my best to make myself happy. Number 2, did I do my best to find meaning? Rather than saying, did the company give me meaning? Did I do my best to create meaning? Number 3, did I do my best to be fully engaged? Rather than saying, did the company engage me? Did I engage myself? Did I do my best to build positive relationships? Rather than saying, do you have a best friend at work? Were you the friend? Did I do my best to set clear goals and to make progress toward achieving my goals? 6 very simple questions. Now, you're all invited to participate in a 2-week study. Any of you that want to participate, send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. All you have to do is write 6 questions study. I will sign all of you up for the study that want to participate. Now, I'm going to warn you in advance, you're going to get it tested every day for 2 weeks. 10 questions. Here's the 6 questions. 10 days, 6 questions. I'm sorry. There's the 6 questions. Here's our results so far. So far, 79 studies, 2,537 participants. 37% of the people that did this 10 days later said, I'm better at everything. I feel happier, better at setting goals. 65% said I got better at least 4 of 6. 89% got better at least 1, and 11% no change. About 0.4% got worse. Why? Every day, these 6 questions get me to focus not on what I cannot change. They get us to focus on what we can change. And what is the one question we can never blame on somebody else? Did I do my best? Did I do my best? Now I'm going to finish with my favorite coaching exercise in the world. Are you all ready? I want everybody to look up here, smile, take a deep breath and go, and hand. Now, I want you to imagine you're 95 years old and you're just getting ready to die. You're on that deathbed. Here comes your last breath. But right before you take the breath, you're given a beautiful gift. The ability to go back in time and talk to the person in this room. The ability to help this person be a better professional. Much more important, the ability to help this person have a better life. What advice would that wise 95-year-old you, who knows what mattered in life and what didn't, and what was important and what wasn't, what advice would that old person have for you? You don't have to say anything or do anything, write anything. Whatever you're thinking now, do that. In terms of performance appraisal, that's the only one that's going to matter. That old person says you did the right thing, you did the right thing. That old person says you screwed up, you screwed up. You don't have to impress anybody else. Some friends of mine interviewed old folks who are dying. Got to ask them this question: what would you do different? Personal side, 3 themes. Theme number 1, 3 words: be happy now. Not next week, not next month, not next year. Great Western disease, I'll be happy when? When I get the money, status, BMW, condominium, we all got the same when. Learning point from old people: don't get so busy chasing what you do not have that you cannot see what you do have when you have everything. Learning point number 2, friends and family. I'm sure many of you work in nice companies. When you're 95 years old and you look around your deathbed, none of your coworkers are going to be waving goodbye. You realize those friends and family, they're kind of important. They're the only people that care. And learning point 3, if you have a dream, go for it. Because you don't go for it when you're 35. You may not when you're 45, and you probably won't when you're 85. It doesn't have to be a big one, maybe a little one. Go to New Zealand, speak Spanish, play a guitar. Other people think your dream is goofy. Who cares? It's not their dream, it's yours. Had a very embarrassing experience a couple of years ago. I was teaching this class, and I said, go to New Zealand, speak Spanish. Guy raised his hand, he goes, we're in Spain, you idiot. We all speak Spanish. Business advice isn't much different. Number 1, life is short, have fun. If you cannot have fun in this field, It's not going to happen if you move into finance, okay? Number 2 is do whatever you can to help people. And the main reason to help people has nothing to do with money or status or getting ahead. The main reason to help people is much deeper. A 95-year-old would be proud of you because you did, disappointed if you don't. And the final advice, go for it. Your industry's changing, your world's changing, do what you think is right. May not win, at least you tried. Old people, we almost never regret the risk we take and fail. We always regret the risk we fail to take. And finally, I had a wonderful time working with all of you. Hope you enjoy my book. Hope we found our time together to be practical and useful and have just a little bit better life. Thank you.
Fortunately, we're out of time for any questions. I say fortunately because it's impossible to follow that. It's great to have Marshall here. Can we get? Yes, we've got the email address up there. That's what we wanted to have. Thank you very much, Marshall. I just want to bring people back to learning and development for a second here. This is all about learning and development. This is all about learning and development. We've got triggers, and we've got behaviours, and in the middle, we've got awareness, impulse, and crucially, choice. Choice. What we do is all about how people behave, or it should be. And we can, if we do the right job, help people get to the position of making the right choices if we do it right. Like I say, this stuff works. It's not easy, but it does work. I heartily recommend picking up the book. You have a nice, clean, new one at the foyer, and putting it to work if you can. Just want to say one more time, Marshall, thank you very much. Okay.